Dude, I've been debating myself whether I should get a cup of coffee or some shit. Oh my god. Am I addicted? Fuck. Man. I'm gonna get something sweet instead. No coffee at this hour. No. Okay, what is this song? Christmas! Del! People know it's Christmas! Oh my god! How you doing? What's up? Been a while. Hello! What's up? It's Christmas! Oh shit! It's Christmas! Ah! Okay. I actually cannot scream at this hour. It's like fucking 8 p.m. It's pretty late here. I cannot. I wish I can scream, but I cannot. What's up? Hold up, I'm ordering some beverage. Some ice cold stuff. I need something to wake me up because I'm kind of drowsy today. McD's when? When? I want my McFlurry as well. Oh my god. What the fuck? I need to go to the McDonald's. Oh my god. Mackey's. Mackey's. Just stop saying Mackey's. This actually cannot say it. Mackey's. Okay, I ordered my drink. I think we're good. I want McD's nuts. Haha, good one. Good one. Shit, you shouldn't say that. Now I actually want some McFlurry. Fuck. Not today, not today. No, 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 no. What about Mix Mac That Ass? Oh my god. Yes. Good one. Like I said, good one. Get to it. What's up, Otto? Hello. Fancy seeing you at this hour. What's up? What's up? Don't worry, chat. Once my food, my drink is here, I'm gonna be loud again. I'm gonna be wide awake, I swear. The loud rad is gonna be right back. But for now, let's continue some of the design shit, bruh. How about that? Still not done with that. Actually, got so many drawings that I need to finish. Oh my god. Why am I so lazy? Pog you. How you guys doing, by the way? Chat, what's up? Good Gamer, Dell, Otto, what's up, what's up? How you guys doing today? What you eating? I actually ate a takoyaki earlier. It's pretty nice. It's been a while. I was like, yeah, I want some. It's been a while. Kind of full though. It's actually a lot. I ate like eight of them. Pretty good. Oh god, Jesus. It's looking good. Thank you. I just decided to make another OC because why the fuck not? And it's a pair. That's why I'm so excited. I'm actually creating a pair of OC together with this one. Still in the design concept shit thingy. Barely touch it. Just drew it once on stream and I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. We'll just let it bake down for a bit. And yeah. Just finished watching Netflix Bebop. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I'm glad I didn't watch it, or I haven't watched it yet. I am so glad I haven't watched it. Is it actually good though? Is it like somewhat good? Also, what's up, Sudo? How you doing? Oh wait, I forgot. Boop. There we go. That's me. Did you jack it really nicely? Really? I mean, it's pretty bare bones still, but it's getting there. Because at the same time, I try to make it look like a leather jacket, obviously, but I never drew a leather jacket, so I kind of like, yeah, how the fuck do I do this? So I'm kind of doing this and that here and there while doing so. Hold up. How you doing, Sudo? I mean, it's alright. Out of 10, how would you rate it? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh boy. Oh boy. To be fair, I kinda see it coming from their first trailer. I was like, yeah, it's not gonna work. Cause they're trying so hard.
I came.
Oh, what the fuck? They're actually trying so hard to make it as comical as possible, like in the anime. But it's just different. You don't really do the comical shit in the live action. Because it's not... You cannot... I mean, I don't know. Is there a movie that successfully make like a visually comical shit going on? Like, I don't think so. I don't know. Like, I remember a couple weeks ago, or a couple of days ago, I guess, I don't remember. There's a clip from the series went viral on Twitter where fucking hold up, let me see if I can find it. Is that one scene? Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Oh, sorry. Is that one scene where Spike met Edward for the first time, right? And they're trying so hard to make it look hilarious, and like, I don't know, dude. It's just so weird. Yeah, I'm talking about the Cowboy Bebop. Like, if you watch the series, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. Like, they're trying to make it. They're trying to imitate or brings the funny sequence from the anime, but a little bit too identical that it looks ridiculous on the live action. I don't know, dude. It's just so weird, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Oh, Jesus. But then again, I haven't really watched it, so I cannot really say things to it, you know. Technically, it's kind of like not my place. But I don't know, bro. I mean, you know, I don't do. I mean, I could, technically speaking. I just wish all the best though for all the actors. I'm pretty sure it's not really their fault, obviously, but you know. Yeah. It is what it is. Also, what's up, Saints? How you doing? This is almost white. She's gonna be quite pale. I don't know if she's gonna look good on pale skin. Guess we'll give it a try. Or like Cowboy Bebop. But do people have to buy so much shit during Christmas? I have so much fucking work. Wait, do you work at logistics and stuff? Oh no. Good luck, man. You got this. Oh no. Have you guys bought anything for yourself or your, you know, friends or family for Christmas yet? Chat. Did you buy yourself a RTX 3090? Oh my shit, bro. Oh my shit. Finally able to afford the fucking scalp crazy shit going on. Oh, no. Whatever. Too lazy to clean it up. No presents, no. What the hell, no presents? Alright, news that surprised nobody. Hassan got banned for using racist slurs. No comment. I mean... Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. TLDR America. Hell yeah, freedom. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Taking my sweet ass time doing this, fuck me. Okay, this music's rushing me. There we go. Remember when I told you about political peeps living it at that? I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, I actually watch Hassan quite a lot. Only when he's not talking about the politics shit. And that usually is when he's featured on another streams, not on his own stream. Personally, I fucking find the guy pretty fucking entertaining. Except when he talk about politics. I actually enjoyed it. So, you know, being someone that have almost zero knowledge about American politics or the politics in general, no comment. You know, no comment. I'm just saying. I enjoy the guy, watching the guy outside of his usual, you know, main content, and that's about it. So I don't really know what to say about it. It's just like, okay, sure, you know. He's like, what am I gonna say about it? Alright, okay. Cool. I don't know. Fuck. He got a big neck. Small head. Lamau. Like, that's all I know about him, dude. I don't know shit about him. Other than that. I don't really tune in on his stream. He sometimes plays some games. That's it. Anyway. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Okay, he's okay. My drink is here. Sorry, I almost forgot. Holy fuck. Give me a sec, chat. One sec. Dude, they fucking flipped my cappuccino, dude. What the fuck? Oh my god. Oh shit. Ah, fuck. Okay. My cappuccino is upside down. Goddamn. Oh goddamn. Oh my god, we're still in just chatting this whole time? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Forgot to change it. My B. Okay, let me just get this real quick. My #1 source of energy. Coffee. Oh, fuck. Woo! Oh my god. So good. So what else there's new? Like news on anything other than, you know, Hassan. I don't think there's any other new stuff. There's going to though. Considering Christmas is real fucking soon. Pretty sure there's gonna be like a lot of event stuff going on. Not sure though. Like close to my place there's going to be like some kind of a festival. I'm not sure why the fuck or how the fuck it's actually allowed to hold the fucking thing. But there's going to be a huge amount of people gathering in the same place kind of shit. So that's kind of worrisome. But I don't know. I heard that the COVID shit's kind of wearing out or some shit. I don't know, dude. Is it though? I thought there's like a new fucking thingy thing going on. And everything. Omicron, yeah, that thing. Yeah, like what the fuck? You know? Then I don't know. I'm not really up to date to those things either, but yeah. Yeah. There's so many fear articles in Germany, like get vaccinated or Omicron will kill you. And then again, studies show Omicron will kill you even if you're vaccinated. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. News. Am I right? It's probably like one of the easiest way to like really convince people to do it, but then again, it's not really. If anything, it kind of makes people a little bit more meh about it. I'm telling you, I still haven't met a single person that got COVID. I think a single person in my entire office had it. I mean, that's good. That's actually really fucking good. That's, you know, that's fucking good. Because I have. Workplace, yes. Family member, yes. Some of them are dead, yes. Like, yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy here. At first, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what? What is going on? What the fuck is this? This looks like some kind of a bullshit. And I was like, wait the fuck? The fuck is going on? Wait, it's actually happening? Holy shit. So it's really weird shit. Cause the infection rate is really weird in its own way. And the way it infects and everything, because you can like get infected and you won't be able to tell, because apparently you can get infected but not getting sick. I'm not sure how, but apparently that's a thing. And I'm gonna be honest, I probably got infected as well. If I have to guessing from my early lifestyle, like in the late 2020, I probably got infected already. I just didn't get the effects and everything, considering I live in a pretty meh apartment and I meet people who went in and out literally all the fucking time. I don't know, dude. Meanwhile, my country, they say it's the weakest variant yet with 0 dead. Do we believe COVID is deadly, but it's not nearly as deadly as media make it out? Deadly? I won't say, like, the thing about the deadly factor about the virus is that it's invisible. That's it. And some people, you know, some people can like really don't give a fuck when something is unseen and everything. Like for example, you know, fucking, you know, how am I gonna explain this? Like, like if you don't really experience it, you won't really feel like you want to acknowledge it. You know what I mean? So the most of the media, at least the actual media ones, actually trying to like visualize it to you and be like, this is what's actually happening. If you're fortunate enough to haven't really experienced or see it yourself, kind of thing. Have you ever seen the number of dead from the normal flu? Yeah, but like, you know, that's like the good old time. But this is basically that, but in a modern time kind of shit. But because we learn, you know, we kind of like mitigate the, you know, all the bad shit way lower and takes it under control kind of thing. But flu was like the hottest shit back then. Oh, in the last 10 years? Oh, I don't know. I thought you were talking about like the flu, the Spanish flu. I mean, of course. Oh, Dave with sketch request, what you want? But yeah, of course. I mean, the last 10 years, of course, flu is not deadly at all. But it is. But it's just very minuscule. Like, if you're really, really unlucky, you'll be dead from, you know, flu. Whether your health condition, your, you know, your lifestyle condition, or complication factors outside your health, like all the kind of stuff. But it's really, really hard to die from flu because we vaccinated from early age, all that kind of shit. We take medicine, we don't eat the, you know, unhealthy shit. Like, you know, it just come and goes. My sister is a nurse. Russia, okay. I'll take notes. My sister is a nurse and she tells me the weirdest shit, like triple vax patients with full COVID and even the worst case survive. I don't know what to believe anymore. The problem is that it's not about believing or not. It's about, you know, using your logical thinking and parsing all the information that you get using the logical thinking. Because here's the thing. COVID in media is like one of the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Well, one of the, because there are some even worse, but like COVID situation with human in general is just one of the dumbest shit, unnecessarily dumb things that's going on. Like there are some people who's trying so fucking hard, like so fucking hard, to try to tell people that COVID's fake, like it's just a fucking government conspiracy shit. Like, come on, man. Are you serious? Are we gonna do this? Is this the Area 91 kind of bullshit again? Like, it's... Come on. Like, it's one of those things that I don't really know how to explain it to you, but I'm pretty sure if you can use your logical thinking, it makes sense. You know? Like, it's not like the media doing some bullshit like, we gotta make up some numbers and put it on the TV and tell people that 300,000 people die today from COVID. Haha. Like, no, bro. Like, oh my god. I still don't know. I still have no idea. Like, the reason I'm so frustrated is that I personally know a family member that, oh my god, is a far family member, so it's not really close to me. I barely know him, but oh my god. Like a while ago, I think it was last year, like late last year, there's like a family gathering, so we kind of like hang out and some shit like that. So it's like at the peak of COVID or something, but not really. And all the stuff that he told me, holy shit, it's straight up tinfoil. It's like he's talking about how the president is trying to work together with Trump to make this very secretive project, and they're trying to mind control everyone, and they're working with Mark Zuckerberg to like know everyone's DNA, and then in the future everyone is monitored through their blood vein. There's like CCTV in your blood, bro. What the fuck, bro? But at the same time, again, I don't want to make fun of those people, because everyone have their own way to, like, you know, moving forward in life kind of shit. Like, you know what I mean, right? Everyone have their own point of view of anything, right? So I don't really want to make fun of them. I'm pretty sure in their own mind, they believe this 100%. And I feel bad about it. I feel bad. Like, sure, some of the conspiracies is believable, sure, but some of them is just straight up ridiculous. Like, ridiculous to the fucking, like, it's unbearably cringe. Kind of dumb shit. But don't get me wrong, there are some conspiracy theory that, you know, like, yeah, that's possible, but I don't know, like, you know, kind of thing, right? Like that there are some out there, sure, but there are no proofs or some shit like that, so it's whatever, right? But the thing is that, like, as a personally, okay, this is personally for me, right? From my own perspective, just a fucking random guy who likes to stream on Twitch, right, and have a fucking full-time job doing some boring ass shit, right, just to like to live by, right? I'm a nobody. Just don't. If you, at the start of the COVID, or like at the peak of a COVID, you turn into a fucking conspiracy theories, or like you join some group that trying to spread awareness of how fake COVID shit is, or something like that. How do I say this? You know, you know, I don't know how to say this in a nice way. But you know what I mean. Anyway, never mind. I don't want to say it. But just like, You know, sometimes you just have to find uh shit, I don't know, dude. Never mind. I don't want to talk about it. Never mind. Never mind. I don't want to, I don't want to get too fucking, anyway. They tried to get into his CIA scandal and Kennedy's assassination. Some conspiracy become even weirder the more you know. Yeah, exactly. Like there's some really weird shit out there that happened in the past. It's, like some of the most ridiculous ones probably like some people don't believe moon exists, or like the space landing is fake. Kona brother, like all that kind of stuff. I get it. We never witnessed it with our own eyes. I get it. I get it. Right? But to say that people going out of space is fake is kind of sad. I'm just saying, it's sad. The fact that you don't get excited with how people manage to explore outer space, like explore beyond Earth, and you just feel like that's a fake shit. It's sad. Like I cannot prove him to you either. Like visually, like I don't have a ticket to Mars or a moon like fucking Jeff Bezos, like my ex boss, right? I don't have the ability to do that. Yes, but it's around us, dude. It's around us. Like, oh my god. Again, it's one of those things that I just cannot explain it. But if you have logical explanation, it just works. It, oh my god, dude. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that you don't, why do you even bother? Make an event, make a hobby out of, I don't know. At the same time, I'm kind of glad they have something to do, right? Like on one side, I'm kind of happy that they're excited about something, right? I'm always happy when a person or a group of people have something to do. They're excited, waking up excited to do something. I love that because that's give them a purpose to keep going forward in life. Awesome. But at least okay, I don't want to talk shit, man. This is fucked up. All right? My goal here is not to make fun of those kind of people. No. No. None. I am no better than those than them. I'm just a normal fucking guy, you know. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't know, dude. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I kind of give up. Why are we talking about this? Fuck. Chad, you're turning me toxic, dude. Oh my god. Making me toxic, bro. What the fuck? Yeah. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, okay. Okay. Truing. Exactly. not gonna lie though, one thing that I'm kind of like sometimes thought about is that it's actually kind of awesome to have like those kind of hobby. If you see it from a specific perspective kind of thing, because it's basically like a giant group or club activities that you do with a bunch with a similar minded people kind of shit, and you got it's kind of like you know it's exciting, it's fun, you know, like they have a common goal with a large group of people on across the globe kind of shit, or should I say across the flat earth. Like, you know what I mean, like from that perspective it's kind of cool, but I don't know. I'll stop. Fuck me, dude. Oh shit. What the fuck? Why do we even talk about this? God damn it, chat. Anyway, anyone been planning to do some shit for Christmas? Or you guys have like no event? Just chilling? Proceed with usual activities. Nah, man, COVID fucked all events. True. That's the sucks part about it. That's true. My workplace is a digital Christmas event. Oh shit. Like I'm gonna attend. Come on, man. Your boss probably fucking excited to do that event, man. Come on. Oh shit. I have to ask, what does Dia Tida Tao mean? He doesn't know. He doesn't know, chat. He said no. He. Basically. No, yeah, that's what it means. That's why I put it like that. Because people always say, what does Dia Tida Tao means? I just keep saying it. It literally means he doesn't know. It always works. It always works. Exactly. Constipated. Oh my god, I'm sorry. What time is this? Dude, my internet is always bad at this hour, god damn it. I think she should have a slightly shorter hair. Good try. Finish the shading first. Jesus. My throat is dying. Actually, I have no idea what should we play today. But I do have some stuff that I want to do. That is not really streaming necessarily. I mean, not streaming, not gaming necessarily, but like it's gaming related shit. Also, no. I've actually been really addicted to Beat Saber. I played it off stream quite a bit here and there. Really fucking addicted. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, dude. Coffee stream? I don't know about that, dude. Maybe I like it a lot because it's some kind of a, you know, physical activity shit as well. But at the same time, it's kind of like jammers, shit like that. It kind of reminds me of like Dance Dance Revolution that I used to play a lot back then. So I kind of like a little bit nostalgic. moving, you know, moving my whole body while jamming to music in rhythm, kind of thing. It's been really fun. It's been really fun. Oops. Poor Saber. Exactly. What difficulty you play on Beat Saber? Mostly hard, with a little bit of expert here and there. If it's not that, like, I would say I'm on like comfortable hard, but like I can push it to the expert point right now. Like I'm still really struggling with like stacks of blocks that close to each other. It's probably my biggest weakness so far. But then again, most of my friends tell me that I'm playing the game wrong-ish, in a way. Like, what the fuck? So apparently there's like things that you can do to kind of like improve the way you play the game properly. Like in Osu, like many rhythm game, there's always that like life hacks shit that you can do to like make the games a lot more easier in a way, quote unquote, to like make the game a lot more you know, easier to compete in. There are life hacks in Osu. It's not life hacks. What's the word for it? It's like you know, there are some things you can do, like very minor thing that usually doesn't really matter if you're a casual, but like, you know, the grips, your pen grips, your tablet sensitivity, your tablet space, custom space, you know, fucking, what else? You know how fucking most casual Osu probably keep the background video on 100%, and then the try hard ones make it like 100% dim, or like completely black background, like all this minuscule shit. Like I'm slowly learning those kind of stuff in Beat Saber as well. Like, okay, let me show you one thing. Like, okay, hold up. Camera's fucking dog shit right now. This is gonna be quite ridiculous, but trust me, this is what I do. So this is my controller, right? This is the Oculus Touch, modified, slightly modified, with a custom silicone rubber grip. So like I hold it like this, right? I like have like a grip thingy thing, handle thingy. But this is how usually, you know, you normally hold the controller, right? Pretty fucking neat. But when I play Beat Saber, I hold it like this. Index from here, go up here, and then the thumb hold it over here, right? I put my finger thingy over here. So it's kind of like this. Now this might looks ridiculous to a lot of people. They're like, why the fuck do you even do this? It's uncomfortable as fuck. But here's the thing. The reason why I do this is that when you hold it like this, in Beat Saber you slash. You slash through the box, right? So you kind of do like this kind of motion, right? So when you do a front slash, your wrists are locked right here. See what I mean? Like right here. It's locked, right? And then the controller can only reach this far. But when I hold it like this, it can go even further. That's right. Easier slash. It's not as restrictive as holding it normally. Because if I do it like this, I restricted myself because of my wrists. If I hold it like this, I can go even further. Yeah. It's one of those very unnecessary shit if you play just for fun, but I'm a little bit competitive. So yeah. I kind of do those kind of things here and there. Once again, I see that the index controller looks way better. Is it? I don't know. I actually forgot how the index controller looks. But I heard index also have like a very, very bad Q&A quality. Have you tried the Tetris effect? No, I have not. I actually haven't. I'm not a big Tetris guy, so maybe that's why. But I could give it a try. It's on Game Pass? Oh shit. I don't know if you can actually play a Game Pass game that have VR shit. Maybe, I mean, of course I have. Of course I can, I guess. Just need to, because I'm so accustomed with Steam VR shit, right? But I'll check it out, see what's up. It's actually on Game Pass, might as well. Although we still haven't finished some of the VR game that we've started, like Alex and shit. Should probably finish those as well. But fuck, dude, VR games are fucking exhausting. Like, goddamn. But I do have to blame my own playstyle because of it, because I move my whole fucking body when I play VR games. Which a lot of people think it's sometimes you tend to do exaggerated movement kind of thing. Like in Beat Saber, I actually just don't move my hand. I actually dance with the fucking song. Like it's almost like a workout for me. I actually jam hard with Beat Saber. Fucking fun, dude. And you jam along the fucking songs. And yeah, the gamer bot combination. kind of sick. I'm liking how she looks so far. Although I probably should do a little bit of customization on her jacket rather than just this. God damn. You messed it up with the question mark, dude. Shouldn't ask the question mark. I mean, shouldn't add the question mark. Oh my god. Oh, fuck. Ah, shibal. Jesus. Up, 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 up. God damn it. That's why I'm never gonna get to sub 50k again. Oh no. Gotta keep trying, man. Gotta keep trying. Cannot give up. Never give up. I want to go back to 100k. Do you even get those time when you get into 4-star lobby just to destroy some noobs? Jesus Christ, man. Why, bro? Why? I am that noob. What the fuck, man? I'm the 4 or 5-star Andy, alright? Wow. What the fuck? It's kind of fucked up. What's the 50k, by the way? Is that like the top rank shit? I was at the 46k global. Those were the times. I mean, hey, you can always reach it again if you want to. You know? If you put your mind into it, you'll be able to reach anything you want. I'm still in school and could play during the entire vacation. Jesus Christ. You guys are going ham with it. Oh wait, shit. Twitch recap is out? Damn, Magma's top used emotes is actually mine and Gara. What the fuck? That's cool. Look at this guy. God damn! It's actually pretty sick. That's rare to see 4 of my emotes actually in there. It's actually weird. God damn. Does it look so scuffed though? Is that how a Twitch thingy thing actually works? Holy fuck. You guys have spent 2.32 million channel points. Oh my fucking god. What the fuck? It's actually crazy. Jesus. What? My top categories is fucking just chatting. No shot. Then again, we do a lot of just talking and shit. I guess it makes sense. Well, how do I show this to you guys? Here. Yeah. Actually, I don't know how to do this. Oh, the fucking thing is bugged. Magma have the most channel points? What the fuck? Okay. This is just my daily shit though. Hold up, how do I show this to you guys? Because this is my email. I don't want it to get shared off. Although I only see the from a streamer perspective, I don't see it as a viewer perspective. I want to see who's my top streamer that I actually watched. I wonder where you get those. It's in your email. Not sure how, but is there. Oh, you only get the streamer thingy? Then I guess it's delayed. I'm not sure. I'm not too sure about it. Holy shit, my throat's dead, dude. Okay. I feel like I could do more with the jacket. Overall, I kind of like where am I going with this. Alright, dang, let's do some gaming. Oh my god. Once I can. I need more inspiration for this, guys. What should we play though? I'm actually not sure. I am not too sure. Dude, sometimes I wish I can just play VR game just like that without actually setting things up. It's kind of want to play some VR game, but I'm too lazy to set the fucking things up. Ugh. It's kind of like VR chat? Nah, I'm not streaming VR chat, dude. I'm good. I also do notice that fucking Half-Life Alyx stutters as shit, dude. It stutters so fucking hard. So I kind of like, I don't know. I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Kind of don't know about that, brothers. Don't know about that. Yup. I guess we could try BONEWORKS. You think that would work? We could try BONEWORKS. I don't know. We can give it a try, I guess. Gotta get that new GPU. Yeah, I know, dude. Fuck. I know. That's the last thing I want to get. Oh! Keon F 2002. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Ever played it? It's actually pretty sick. I only tried for like the first 15 minutes before I almost threw up. It was kind of fun. Bep, bep. There's also Halo Infinite, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really have the urge to play it like right now kind of thing, you know. So I don't know. Oh yeah, Pavlov. I keep forgetting to get that game. Shit. Alright, let's close this first. Let me see. Jesus. God damn it. It was on sale. I mean, sale's gonna come soon. I can get the game soon enough. I'm in a rush. I don't think it's gonna be my daily thingy thing anyway. But I do want to try it out. Oh, fuck. I guess we can give it a try. Let's do it. Why the hell not? Let's give it a try. Oh shit. Alright. Let me set my VR shit real quick. Alright, let's try BONEWORKS, yeah? See what's up. Let me just... It's like the worst shit about VR streaming. My PC setup is not really a VR optimized shit, so I have to like plug shit in and out. Before I try to start games. We go back to lurking. Lunch break is over. Alright, dude. Good luck with work. You got this. Oh shit. Wait, have I charged my VR? Wait, I forgot. Oh no. I don't know how much battery do I have on this one. I don't think a lot. Whatever, let's give it a try. It's definitely enough for like an hour or two. Oh, show. Alright, let me mute myself real quick. Are we in? Fuck. Shit, hold up. I cannot see you guys yet. 1 second. Bada bing, a bada boom. I gotta use that chat. Hold up. Chat, if the volume started going downhill, just let me know, okay? Oh, fuck off. How do I close that? Oh, shit. Gotta close some stuff first. Hold up. Are you kidding me? Not responding? Bro. What the fuck? God damn it. Eh? Oh my god. Okay. Let me just close that real quick. What the fuck? I'm gonna play Session by Diana, because that's what's bopping. Holy shit. This is a fucking lot of works. Bada bing, bada boom, bing bang, muted that shit, unmuted that shit. Alright, everything's pretty fucking good. I think we're good to go. Okay. That is not chat. Chatterino. Okay, that's broken. Let me just get into the game first. So at least you guys can see some shit. Why is my Chatterino's broken? Oh, because I minimized it. I'm dumb. Okay. Now all I gotta do is bada bing, bada bang. You guys are so fucking huge. Let me make you guys a little bit smaller there. There you go. Alright, should be good. Got that under control. Got this under control. Gotta change the scene. Bada bing, bada bang. Boom. Bing. Bop. Bow. And we are in. Some of the software are so persistent. Holy shit. Alright. Oh god. Holy shit, I actually get 60 FPS on this game? Damn, that's crazy. I did not think of that. Hold up. Physics. Shit. The lowest is 80 hertz? I'm on 72. I hope that's not an issue. Hold up. I'm not sure though. I guess we'll have to find out. Alright, music's off. Are we off? I think we're off. Okay. Control, turn mode, turn rate 5. Ooh, that's really bad. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to play this game properly. Woo-wee! It's gonna be bad. Oh, fuck up. Snap turn. What is a snap 15? It's kind of janky. Kind of don't like that. They just do smooth, but like on lower speed. How is that 3? Okay. Maybe faster the better? Yeah, because it's kind of instant. I'm assuming. I'm not sure. Hold up. Alright. It's just... Story. Arena? Oh. New game. Should probably not skip the tutorial part. I'm not sure. How does it look like on PC? Okay. Hey chat, tell me if it's too loud, okay? Oh, I forgot to turn off something. Hold up. One second. There we go. I don't know if I want to keep Leo around. As whatever. It's gonna be my assistant. A little loud? Okay, give me a sec. Okay, the hands in this game is fucking weird. It's so accurate. I actually never use my headphone when I'm playing on my VR. I know the headphone's probably better, but I'm pretty content with the Oculus audio so far. So it doesn't really matter for me. There's sounds going on.
Operator, attention.
Oh, okay. Hold up.
Force grab the object from far away.
How the fuck do I...
Force grab the object from far away.
Okay.
Pick up the object in front of you.
Okay.
Gently throw the object. Secure inbound and outbound shipments appropriately.
Okay. Okay.
Secure inbound and outbound shipments appropriately.
Okay. Dude, my throwing is so fucking bad.
Secure inbound and outbound shipments appropriately.
It's kind of cute.
Secure inbound and outbound shipments appropriately.
Okay.
Secure inbound and outbound shipments appropriately.
It's so hard to throw with this fucking thing.
Secure inbound and outbound shipments appropriately. Secure inbound and outbound shipments
Gammon.
appropriately. Into the socket, then pull the lever.
Oh, that's it. Alright.
Insert the battery into the socket, then pull the lever.
Like I said, I already did this tutorial part shit, so I kind of know what I'm doing. Okay, how the fuck do I access the main menu again? I forgot. Whatever. I'll do it later. How's the frame rate, by the way? Are we good? Because from what I heard, the game is actually pretty fucking optimized for a pretty good looking game. It looks pretty good on me. Menus is red. 18 apps, ABS tools. Oh, that's sick. Can I store this somewhere? I don't think so. I'm gonna just hold on to it. Jesus. Okay. I'm pretty sure later on we're gonna get... Oh, shit. Okay. We're gonna get the tutorial on how to do this shit. Let's go find out. Okay. Okay. This shit is heavy. They actually managed to, like, simulate, like... Oh god, what the fuck? Okay, never mind. What the fuck was that? It's kind of weird. I don't know how to explain this.
Particles have been detected in the area.
But I can feel the weight of this shit. Oh god. It's kind of crazy. And you can kind of destroy things with it. It's kind of cool. Alright. I wish I could just store this. Oh, that's an ammo box for Half-Life. I don't have any gun. Aha. Alright. Okay. I guess we're not going there. Oh. My item dissolved. Fuck. Alright, fine. Oh. Okay, I can open the menu now. Audio. Let's do 3. Let's do 4. Alright, should be good now. Not quite sure. Okay, last time I played this game, I actually really fucking struggling. Uh-oh. Was that a loading transition? God damn it. Last time when I played this game, I actually almost threw up. So it's kind of like an improvement. I can somewhat keep going and not getting motion sickness, or at least not as much. It's definitely still there. I don't know what it is with this game, but when I move around like in a circular motion, it goes up. That's for sure. But it's not as bad as the let's say, what was that one game? I forgot what it's called. It's a free game that I tried. That one's pretty fucking bad. Because the amount of screen shake the game have was pretty fucking crazy. So I think screen shake's like one of my weaknesses. Hold up. Controllers all over the place. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. God damn it. I wear the straps wrong way. Bing. A bang. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, what the fuck is this long ass fucking loading screen? Hello? Do we crash? Ow, fuck. I hope we're not. But it feels like it. Oh shit. Everything's lagging for me. Yeah. I got a feeling we're crashing. Not sure why. Uh-oh. Oh, up. All right, never mind. We're good. That was weird. Okay. Volume's definitely lower now. Let's go back to 6.
Hello, and welcome to the Museum of Technical Demonstration.
Okay. Myth OS City, Monogon Industries opening day. Gallery of Mechanics and Interaction.
The museum halls
Oh
are
shit,
not
it's a bunch of controllers. It's the fucking Oculus Original Touch, I think, the controller. This is the Quest 1. I don't think they have the Quest 2. Or is this a Quest 1? I forgot. I think this is a Touch 1. I don't know. Survive. No wonder people keep calling it dildo. And then fucking Valve Index. Definitely one of the more interesting shape. I kinda like this. It's kind of like a breaking the fourth wall. Myth OS.
Staff would like to remind you, we are working around the clock for Myth OS City opening day.
Complete virtual operating space designed by Monogon, blah blah blah. Core system, bada bing bada boom. Okay. Ah, fuck. Alright. Yeah, that is Index.
Everything you need to know about control may be
Left,
found in the
double
hall
tap
of
left
Myth
thumbsticks? Oh! I didn't know you can run. God damn it. There's a very weird keybind for running though. What is this?
At the dawn of our virtual world, many early inhabitants found themselves limited by the primitive concepts of short-range warp locomotion.
True. It's actually funny.
Speed may vary. Try crouching, walking, and sprinting.
Index
To
touch.
understand how locomotion and momentum drive the virtual world.
Oh! Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Whoa. It's a bunch of custom headsets. It's not even real headsets.
Monogon provides a wide array of immersive virtual equipment
Oh, it's supposed to be
for any
monogons.
simulated lifestyle. The excellent range of options spans from the work-oriented teleglass blue to the extreme
Okay, I don't care.
Prophet XT7.
Modes of play.
Monogon Virtual Systems provides flexibility in styles of active virtual lifestyle. Both standing and seated modes offer a healthy balance of comfort and blood flow.
Oh, they're wearing the fucking thingy thing, the strap thingy thing. I forgot what it's called. Oh, we're dropping? Hold on. Oh my god, I can't even open my Oculus. Shit, we are! Okay, it's probably only for a bit. We'll see. At least we're not delayed. It's just like really shitty bitrate. Okay. In 5 minutes, tell me if it's still dropping, yeah. But yeah, it's definitely dropping for sure. You're not wrong. Traditional virtual space. Okay. MythOS.
Physically interactive environments and full body presence are the cornerstone for living and working in virtual spaces.
Oh shit. Okay. So like I can get my hands stuck on things. Okay. We aren't? Are we? I'm not sure if we're actually dropping delayed or not. Testing. If you can hear me, type in the fucking caulking. I was gonna test it. Ah, fuck. Jump! Okay.
If you are experiencing any overwhelming reaction to MythOS virtual mechanics, please
Terrain can be crossed by running and jumping.
mechanics after you feel comfortable.
Hoo-yah! 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 Oh shit. Nice. Hoo-yah! Oh shit, I actually helped? The fuck? That's so fucking weird. Crouch.
Crouching action may be performed physically or virtually. Try ducking down with your real-world body. Or
Nah, I'm good.
hold down the provided crouch input button to traverse under low obstacles.
Okay, we're actually dropping hard. Are you serious? Hoo-yah! Woo! Holy fuck. Ah. Whoa, okay. This is kind of weird. Ah, like my buddy. That's kind of sick. Grab to save. Nice. Automatic save when changing levels. Manual checkpoint save by using safe spot. Use a safe spot, blah, blah, blah. Okay, okay. To save additional items, place them in the left platform. Gotcha. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. I'm gonna bump into things with this shit. Okay, yeah. I'm definitely gonna bump into this shit. Ah. Oh my god, this feels so fucking weird. Oh fuck. Oh shit. Okay. That's really bad. Huh. Okay, let me try the fucking ladders. Wait, can I run? Oh! Fuck! Ah, shit. Okay, hold on. Wait, are we still dropping? No fucking way. Well, shit. Really bad. Lol W. Fuck. Shit, I don't know. I mean, I kind of don't mind if we end it here. Bro. Oh my god. The inward fucking shit is so making the shit so fucking hard to do. The fucking thing. My headset keeps losing track of my fucking thing. Fuck. God damn it. Holy fuck. Gamer, if you can hear me, type in cocking from now. Yeah, I think it's really, really bad. Ooh. That's really weird. Okay, it's actually all right. It literally buffered when you say that. Oh shit! I already broke the game. Ugh. Shit! I'm strong as fuck. Ugh. Ugh. God damn it. Ugh. Ah. Oh shit. What the fuck? Ugh. Fuck. Oh shit, this shit feels heavy. Oh my god, what the fuck? It's fucking weird. Whoa, whoa, okay. Can I get buffed from doing this virtually? Okay. That's actually not bad.
Tell me when the graphics getting better, okay, chat? For the stream. Boxing. It doesn't do the fucking punching shit when you're doing it sideways. This is so weird. Although, you know what? The best part about this game is that it actually runs really fucking well. Oh shit. Okay. I got this. Oh fuck. Ugh. Oh fuck. Okay, it's too heavy. Oh. Oh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, boy. Oh, shit. Okay, hold up. Let me try to actually try to... Oh, fuck. Gosh. 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoa. Okay. That was weird. I can actually feel like it's fucking heavy as shit. What the fuck is this? Can I climb this? Oh fuck. Oh my god. No! Fuck! Fuck. Oh shit. Wait, hold up. How's it now? Okay, refresh, refresh. It's actually better now. Refresh the stream. Pog crazy. Damn. I can type all the emotes properly. Oh god. Oh. Oh shit. The fuck. Okay. Oh. God damn it. Not again. Oh. Come on, dude. Alright, I'm done here. Hell yeah. Oh, what is this? Looks like I'm supposed to put it there. Oh my fucking god, it's just heavy as shit. God damn.
Attention, archival staff. Due to an unfortunate recent incident, we request that all employees obfuscate the basement and lock them.
Employees only. Aha. Can I go through this? I know there's fucking something over. God damn it. Oh.
The museum halls walls are not currently open.
Try breaking the glass. Okay. Okay, there's a tempered glass. Oh! All right. Okay, I cannot reach that shit. Okay. I fucking touched my table again. Okay. Oh. Try breaking the planks. Okay, I think I can do it like this. Okay, not quite. Fuck. Yeah. My hand keeps slipping off. Oh, did not meant to do that. Fucking. Oh. Alright, now I want to break something else. Okay. That shit. Alright. Okay. God damn it. Alright, let's just bring this with us right now. Bam, 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 bam. Oh, it's a puzzle.
Feel free to take your time with physics environments.
Puzzle demonstration. What? Oh, okay. Shit. How do I reset that shit? Ooh, the music. Okay, that just pushed me away. Oh my god. I need to stop moving in real life. Alright. Okay. Okay, it's not bad, not bad. What's up, Jen? How you doing? I'm trying my best. Kinda struggling. But doing well, nonetheless. How you doing? What's up? Oh, it moves. Oh, okay, I get it. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. I gotta move away from my wall. Yeah, it's lagging here and there. It's kind of inconsistent. But yeah. No! God damn it! Fuck. Oh, come on. I gotta do that again. Unless... Alright, we could just do this. Oh, fuck, sorry. God damn. Alright, maybe my height is... Because right now I'm sitting down. I don't think I should play this game while I'm sitting up. I'm probably gonna die. So... Sitting offset. Auto guess. 56 centimeters. Okay, we can try with that. I mean... Isn't it supposed to make us... Hold up. Gotta make it as if like we're not bending our knees or some shit. Okay, maybe around 77. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. No! Are you kidding me? Fuck. Okay, the jumping is actually not easy. Okay, let's do that. I'm kinda on my tiptoe. How do you jump in VR? You actually press a button and I let go. But I'm not sure if it's real or not, but doing the hand thingy thing kind of feel like I'm jumping higher. Could be just a thingy though. That's not even a thing. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna hate this so much. Oop. Oop. Okay, we don't need to do the hand gesture shit. It kind of helps though with motion sickness when you move along with your jump, like doing this. It's kind of trick your brain into actually doing it. It helps with the motion sickness. Okay, this is one of the weaknesses of inside-out tracking. If I don't look at my hand all the time, it's gonna lose its sense. It's tracking. Okay, this is it. Yeah, I believe my hand gestures helping. I just do believe so. So let's just do that. Probably not, but fuck it, dude. Oh no, I'm stuck. Climb up. Climb up. There we go. Alright, how bad is the delay now? Are we still delaying? What the fuck? I am on my tiptoe. Oh, that just... Okay. Okay, the floor offset is pretty fucking crazy. Whatever, though. Oh, God, dude. Can I skip this? Jumping actually fucking hard as shit. Emergency elevator lock. Is it unlocked now? Doesn't seem like it's unlocking. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe we have to press the button? Okay. I don't think so. Okay. Just buffer for me, so I guess we're a bit delayed. I guess so, yeah. Fuck. Okay. It's getting a bit tiring. Ow. Okay. Your height might be maybe calibrated incorrectly. Am I taller? I don't think so. Maybe I'm shorter? Maybe because I'm sitting down, it's kind of like having a trouble guessing. Bro! Can I skip this? Oh my god, we Hell yeah! Oh fuck! Emergency elevator lock. Oh. Oh, that's what it's for. Okay. Oh fuck, I have to go up again. Alright. Oh, okay. We don't have to do all this bullshit again. Are you? No! Sorry. I didn't mean to scream. Oh my fucking god. Okay. Okay, there we go. Maybe calibrating jumping is still not the easiest part of the fucking... Oh, fuck! Okay, we got it. Woo! Easy! That's right.
The museum of technical demonstration by Ultra Drink Ultra.
Oh, maybe I'm supposed to be this high. Dude, I'm 178 though. Where's the fucking menu? Shit. Am I... Oh, okay, hold up. 177, I guess. Yeah, I'm like eye level now with this guy. I think that's how I'm supposed to play the fucking game. Oh, Jesus. Yua! What's up? Welcome. Wait. I cannot do the peace sign in this game. Welcome to my stream. Yeah. What's up? Hey. I don't know what I'm doing. How you doing? Oh. Okay, it's infinity. What's up? How's your stream? How you doing? Hello, Onsen. Fuck. Oh shit. Monogon Virtual Bodyworks Expanded Myth OS.
Virtual mechanics in their operation.
That is kinky. Nice. Toggle menu button. Pressing menu button against while hovering over any button will select and close the menu. Oh. Never mind. Can you guys actually see the menu? It's kind of sick actually. All right, I already know that. Save a lot of little sister on my way to save Eleanor. Hey, nice progress. It's gonna get really good. I really do hope you enjoy it. The game's gonna get really, really. Oh shit. Okay, should stop. Oh! 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 Oh, good there. Oh, that works. Never mind. Alright, I'm down. Oh, the inventory shit. Ooh, can you guys see this? This is actually pretty fucking nice. Sick. Oh, I love this. Fuck yeah. Reclamation bin. Redacted? Looks like I can put this somewhere. Nice. Oop. Purchasing and saving items. Exchange bullet tokens to purchase items. That's an M4. It's not there. What the fuck? Oh, reclamation bins to save your things. Oh. Nice. What the fuck is this? I guess we'll save it later. You too, little buddy. Museum sandbox. Alright, go over there. So still have this. How you guys doing, by the way? What's up, Onsen? I'm not sure what is this for, but I got a feeling this is gonna be important. So, that's a refund button. I'm dumb. This looks like an extra life. I'm not sure. I hope it's worth it. Alright. I'm ready. Impact velocity. Nice. Items cannot travel between instances, but projectile math can. Oh, fuck. Physics. I love physics. The following hall provides an introduction to both kinetic. Okay, barabang. Let me in. Oh, fuck yeah. We're finally in the best part of the game. A shooting range. Oh, it's 1911. For an M9. Okay. Excuse me? How do I... That's how I gotta reload. Oops. Oh. Actually... That would be cool if you could... Whoa, what the fuck was that? I can do slow-mo? Oh, shit. Oh, that's sick. Oh my god. I'm in my playground, dude. Oh, this is so fucking sick. Alright. We got a... I forgot what this is gun called. MP9? Alright. Oh, this is so weird. Oh, wait. Okay, at least recoil doesn't exist in this game, so that's good. We got a M9. No. I forgot what this gun's called. Too bad the only way to reload is like this, instead of like pressing the button. Alright. It's too far. Shit. Oh, baby. Okay. Aiming a rifle. Oh, it's empty. In a VR game is so weird because you don't have the physical shit. Hold up, by the way. The music's so loud, I just realized. There we go. But they make it kinda accessible. Although one thing that I hate is that my headset, for some reason it's it's blurry when I look with one of my eyes closed. So I have to like not close my eyes ish. Not bad. Oh, so sick. Oh, God. Wait, am I disconnected? Oh, fuck. I'm having way too much fun. Oh, never mind. We're good now. Gawking. Oh, my Chatterino's off. Hold up. My Chatterino's disconnected for some reason. It's what I use for chat monitoring. Well, that sucks. Okay. Give me a sec. No conking. Conking. It's cocking, man. Okay. Let me just change this shit up real quick so I can see you guys. There we go. You know what's awesome about this game is that I have maximum FPS. No drop whatsoever. It's pretty fucking sick. The game looks and feels good. Of course, it's not the most complicated graphic-wise, but you know, it's pretty fucking sick. Oops. So fucking sick. What I'm doing. Wait, can I do that? Oh! Oh my god. Oh. No shot, bro. You can individually do that?